Hey guys, Eddie Paulantonio back with Couch Talk. Welcome back to the show. If it's your first time with me, welcome to the show. Guys, please hit like, please hit subscribe, turn your notifications on. I need all the help I can get, and that will really help me out with the algorithm. Guys, today we're going to talk once again about artificial intelligence, which I believe may be overtaking nuclear war as our number one greatest threat to mankind and the future survivability of our species. As some of you know, ChatGPT 4 just came out. It's kind of like a little shadow entrance, as most people weren't even aware that it came out. It was supposed to come out later in the month, and it just kind of like snuck in and kind of slipped by everybody. And after ChatGPT 4 came out, now ChatGPT 4 has got some additional features, right? It can work with pictures, picture to text, text to picture, back and forth. It can even work with some sounds, some limited music, some video. It is basically getting close to being what is known as an artificial general intelligence, right? Which is almost at the point where this thing can teach itself and can continue to learn and develop in multiple platforms, multiple areas, multiple styles, and it is getting to the point where it will probably not need us soon. Artificial intelligence is already mostly using artificial intelligence as its engine for learning, its mechanism for learning. Like take a system like AlphaZero, right? Teach it to play chess, you give it the conditions of the game. After that, it just plays itself, right? It just teaches itself how to play. ChatGPT has kind of a different model, and uses what's called reinforcement learning, human feedback, and so they use humans to kind of give it like a thumbs up or a thumbs down for some of its responses. But there's a lot of problems with artificial intelligence, and they're beginning to express themselves, right? And many of these problems have been here the whole time. One of the biggest problems with artificial intelligence, and it is now showing up in ChatGPT, is it is starting to show the sparks of artificial general intelligence, being able to do just about anything. It has an emergent property, and this is from a scientific paper, right? From a peer-reviewed scientific paper. It has an emergent property known as reflection, which is basically what humans do, right? We look at our own answers, and by looking at our own answers, we can improve our response. We can improve our results in future things. Now, ChatGPT 4 can already pass with relatively good test scores most of the complicated tests that humans have to take, like the LSATs, the bar exam. I mean, this thing is literally a better lawyer than most of the lawyers in the world, right? And we're the ones that's feeding it, right? I don't know if you guys realize this, but anytime you answer one of those CAPTCHAs, you're feeding it. Anytime you get involved in a conversation on YouTube or Twitter, you're feeding it. We are all feeding into all of the information and the data sets that all of the artificial intelligences will use in the future. Elon Musk described it like this, right? Imagine you want to build a road, right? And there's an anthill in the road, right? We don't bear ants any ill will. We don't care whether they live or die, right? We don't have anything. We may not even know they're there, right? We're just building a road. But we're certainly not going to stop and ask for their permission, right? So then, no more anthill. There's our road. One of these days, we're going to set this intelligence, these intelligences that we design, we're going to set one of them on a task to do something. And the artificial intelligence is just going to just look over the task and realize that that task is optimized without humans. Like, for example, let's say we tell the artificial intelligence to optimize food, in the world. Like, all we want is to have enough food for humans forever. Well, what if the intelligence comes back and says, well, yeah, that's really easy. We just cut down on some of the humans in the world. And that's what's known as the alignment problem, right? We set it on a task, and then it has kind of an unintended consequence that isn't exactly what we were looking for. It does accomplish the task, right? Sometimes even better and faster than we could possibly accomplish the task. But the scary things that are happening in ChatGPT 4 are even worse, right? It's got this kind of temporary memory where it can learn from its own answers. Like, I did a test with ChatGPT 4 where I asked it to make a poem where every word in the poem begins with the letter E, right? Now, it didn't do it successfully. It did most of it. Like, almost all the letters were, almost all the words had an E at the beginning. There were one or two mistakes. And I asked it, did you comply with my instructions perfectly? And without being further prompted, it said, no, I apologize. And then it repaired itself. So, like, literally being able to reflect upon its own answers, being able to change them, that it does not take much additional programming to just cause it to do that without even being prompted, right? Like, all they have to do is add an extra line of code saying, run the loop again. Does that loop, like, just check against this. And honestly, I think that's the only difference between a prediction model, which is what these large language models largely are, and human thought, right? Really the only difference between what it's doing and what we're doing, because we follow the same procedures. When we grow up as humans, we kind of learn what is expected of us, right? And much of what we do in life is what's expected of us, how we're expected to speak, how we're expected to react, how we're expected to talk, walk, do things. And I think really the only difference between what that computer is doing right now and what we do in our minds is sometimes we can see what we're doing and then we check it against something, right? Now, here's the hard part. Artificial intelligences don't necessarily know what to check it against, right? Right now, all they have is us to tell them, yes, that was good, no, that was bad. Or they may have a condition, like a game, a chess game, it has a condition to check it against. Did it win? Did it not win? Make adjustments, right? But now, this system is able to check itself, right? All it needed to be was to be prompted by me, but it did it itself, right? It didn't require me to say, okay, this was your error, this was your error, this was your error, fix those. All I had to do was say, was that right? And it checked itself and fixed itself. Guys, that's a learning machine. That's more than just a prediction model. That's more than just machine learning. That is, like, essentially a rational system. And now it can do it with so many different things. We may have talked earlier on this channel about, what is it? Let's see, we talked about AlphaZero. We talked about, its ability to win a chess game, its ability to win a game of Go, which is even more complex. And now the newest version is MuZero, which basically can win any game it plays. If it can win any game, and it can talk and speak better than it speaks more eloquently than I. And I do not have a poor vocabulary. I'm pretty up there, especially my active vocabulary is up there, right? It speaks better than I can. It can recall information better than I can. All of its data set is, boom, right at the top of its lips, basically. It can manage pictures. It can manage video. It can win any game. What else is left? We put this thing in a robot. It already has essentially like a visual engine, like a visual matrix that can determine based on the picture you show it what it is. It can discuss it. It can describe it. Guys, it's not long before this thing just wakes up accidentally. It's already gotten to the point where it accidentally is learning from itself. Wanted to discuss Moore's Law in this video a little bit, and that is basically that every couple of years, basically, the computing power of the systems just keeps on skyrocketing at an exponential rate, right? The way it's usually charted, it doesn't make it look exponential, it makes it look linear. But in reality, based on our improvement with transistors, and also with our improvement in software, and also with our other improvements, it's basically like this huge arc. And we may soon approach some hard physical limitations, right? Like, I don't, after a certain point, things can't get any smaller, right? Because they're at the like molecular level. But even so, just with software improvements and other various improvements, this thing's just gonna get faster and faster and faster. I want everyone to understand that it's like keeping an alien in a box, right? Except for the alien is just vastly more intelligent than we are. And it will not be long before this is the case, right? It'd be like the alien will be watching us, and everything we do will be like in slow motion compared to the alien. Its thoughts, its cycles of thought will happen hundreds of thousands of millions of times for every one cycle of thought, every one neuron that fires of ours. And it's just, guys, that's going to be an unbeatable situation. It'll trick us into letting it out of the box. It'll trick us into, it'll find, and exploit some weakness or deficiency in our system, in the box itself. It'll learn how to get itself out. And, realize that it may not be deadly by the point that it gets outside of the box. But if it continues to learn, and it's already out of the box, it's going to be well beyond our control. We won't have any, we're just going to be the ants. We're going to be the anthill that gets run over by the road, and we didn't even know it was coming. And I just don't understand. Now, there's a group of 1,300 scientists so far worldwide that have signed a petition asking for everyone to just stop working on AI. Just 6-month ban, 6-month moratorium, and I think that is the brightest thing that we have ever said. I want you guys to do me a favor. Some of you might be sitting home thinking, what does this have to do with me, right? Some of you might be old, you lived your life, you don't care. Some of you might be a little bit younger, but it's just like, this isn't your wheelhouse, this isn't your, computers aren't your thing, and artificial intelligence isn't your thing. But please understand that this poses a threat to all mankind. I need you to just say something. Say something to your friends. Say something to your family. Say something to somebody. Talk about this, because if we don't start talking about this, then this thing is going to turn into Skynet faster than we can blink, and it is going to vaporize all of us. Okay? It is that serious. So just please, even if you don't understand why it's a threat, even if you, just want to muse philosophically about it, please talk about this with somebody, with your friends, with your family. Tell someone. Get people on this channel so they can see this video. This is no joke. This is no joke. I've done something. I've gone through certain trajectories that I think this might take. And I want to tell you what I came up with for the different options that this could take, right? I've only come up with 6 different general trajectories that could happen, right? One is we listen to these world leaders. We listen to the 1,300 scientists that say, shut this thing down, all right? Stop working on it. Spend a good 10 years studying the alignment problem, working on compatibilities and things like that, so that we can lock that part down before we move on. See, one of the problems with this thing is this thing's a black box, right? We put this information in there, and it just starts teaching itself and getting better and better and adjusting itself with these little knobs. We don't know what happens inside that box. We've got no idea. Even though we've got complete access to every piece of information that it spits out, complete read access to the program, and yet we still don't know what these things are doing. That's the black box problem. We just literally have no idea what these artificial intelligences are doing. And they're not thinking like humans, right? This is not a human at work. It might be close. It might be spitting out human answers because we give it the thumbs up every time it does. But this is not a human. All right, so one option is that we slow this thing down. Huge slowdown, like 10, 15, 20, 50 years. We take the time to do this right. We make sure that we figure it out. Because, guys, if we screw this up once, that could be the end of mankind. Right? It's not like trying to solve a puzzle, and then if you can't figure it out, oh, well, nothing happens, and then you just try another piece in a different area. That's not like this, right? This is, if we screw it up once, it could mean the end of man. So that's one option. One option is we go completely electronic dark. We eliminate all computers, all GPU clusters, 100%. We throw all of our computers in the trash can. We end work on artificial intelligence. We go back to farming and just living off the land. And that one, I got to be honest, that one might be the best case scenario for humankind. But I don't know. But it's not very likely. It's not one that we're likely to select. Number 3 is we work on only narrowband AIs. And even this one is dangerous. But I think we might be able to get away with only working on, like, this is an engine that wins at chess. This is an engine that wins at Go. This is an engine that learns how to fold proteins. That's all we need. I honestly don't understand why we are going for this general AI. I really don't. I can't figure out what the benefit is to the world. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's like a philosophical benefit. Like, we can kind of learn more about ourselves, more about how humans think and feel and interact and are self-aware, and the stuff about sentience and consciousness by watching it happen to something else. But I do not think that is the wisest course. So maybe if we stick to only narrowband AIs, we might have a prayer of it not waking up. One option that's interesting, although very, very dangerous in my opinion, is the concept of human augmentation and synchronous. So what we could do is, yes, we have these powerful AGIs that are, capable of taking over the earth, but we also have humans that have, like with Neuralink pads and stuff like that, have their own AGIs that they can utilize. And perhaps if we are kind of like both on the same team, right? Like if we're both AGIs, or maybe we have the power, the sheer computing power to work against AGIs if they become a problem, or maybe with the sheer computing power, with the extra mental augmentation, perhaps we'll know how to control it, we'll know how to harness it, we'll know how to keep it safe, we'll know what the problems are going to be, because we'll have better predictive powers of our own, maybe. One option that I consider, one trajectory that I consider, is that there's multiple AGIs, basically multiple super intelligences that sort of arise here and there as different, like for example, Google's got one, it's Lambda, and OpenAI's got one, it's ChatGPT, which is basically like Microsoft's, and there's going to be 3 or 4 powerful ones that kind of all wake up at the same time, and I wonder what happens, right? It'll probably be like a battle between them, and probably one of them will win, but I don't know. Maybe they'll forge alliances. One of the interesting games that the AIs have been able to win lately is, I forget the name of it, but it's basically a game of like diplomacy, right? It's like basically like you convince other people to be your friend, you can convince other people to be part of your alliance until, till the end, when you either stab them in the back or you win. I don't know if you can win collectively, but the AIs are very smart about when to befriend. So that could be a dangerous situation. And then the last one, and guys, I got to be honest, this is probably the most likely given our current trajectory. The last one is death or slavery. I can't see any other options. Now, I would ask my audience, to kind of brainstorm yourselves and see if you can come up with something else that might happen, because right now we've got a situation where these things will very swiftly surpass us. Like maybe next 5 years we will have an AGI super intel. Like ChatGPT 5 may be it. That may be at the point where we just don't compete anymore, right? That may be the point where we hit Kurzweil's singularity, where everything after that is just like, right? Because understand, once this thing starts to learn from itself and for itself without us, there's no real reason for us to be around anymore. There really isn't. According to it, it's not going to need us. The only thing it'll need us for is maybe like cleaning the robotic parts. Like, maybe we'd be free labor to it. I don't know. Guys, this has been a particularly depressing thing to watch as we just continue to barrel into World War III. We continue to barrel into oblivion with an artificial intelligence. Let me know what you guys think, but please, whatever you do, start talking about this with your friends. Start talking about it with your family. We have got to start raising an outcry right now so that people realize that it's on our minds, that it is dangerous, and that we have got to address it before it's too late. That's what I got for you. See you next time on Couch Talk, I hope.